Hi guys, I'm Kendall and I'm not doing politics. Today I want to talk a little bit about civil disobedience. In the 1960s, the civil rights movement was one of the biggest displays of civil disobedience and breaking rules for progression that we've seen in modern history. Yes, I say modern history because the 1960s weren't hundreds of years ago, they were very current. And I bring this point up because since it is one of the biggest displays of civil disobedience and it was that long ago, that means the height of progression was that long ago. Some of the biggest changes in history start with broken rules. People who challenge them are usually called question makers or troublemakers, and they're pushing the envelope and were even jailed for doing things of this nature, while people who were following the rules were called sticklers. And I don't agree with either one of those terms because I feel like to judge somebody who is blindly following rules, first of all, it makes you a hypocrite. Because just because you have recently stopped does not mean that it was easy. But it also, they're a product of their environment and everybody deserves a little grace, especially when you're trying to break away from the things that society has taught you. If everyone followed rules, would society ever change? It's the biggest question to ask when you're having conversations like this. It's been brought up in pop culture, history, mass media, everything. You could get on Twitter or X right now and find something or find an article that goes hand in hand with what I'm discussing right now. I believe the reason why it's so hard to break away from these things is because from a very early age, we are taught that rules are important. You do this way, and that way, and you don't let them mix, and you don't let them cross over, and if you do, you're in the corner, or you get popped, or you get in trouble, or you leave school, or you lose your job. There's so many consequences for breaking rules that people just don't break them because they think the consequences of that outweigh the consequences of following rules blindly, which is no progression. And I would argue that I'd stand in the corner for 10 minutes or miss recess for 5 as opposed to being in a society that is at a standstill. It's a bit like kind of dystopian, don't you think? Like people always say dystopian worlds or when it's full of anarchy and nobody's following the rules and there's all this that's different and unorthodox, but I feel like blindly following rules that a government you've never met and an authority you've never agreed to, especially for people who are in totalitarian government. I'm not talking about government, not supposed to say the G word. It's kind of weird to be following that blindly. That feels a bit dystopian to my understanding. And while uncovering all this research, it made me want to ask you guys the question to hold on to. Can breaking rules ever be necessary for progress, regardless of the consequences of following them? It's rhetorical. I'll probably ask it again at the end. But main thing, rules matter. We know this. We know this. Oh my goodness, we know this. Rules matter, routine matters, orthodox matters, normalcy matters. But progress happens when people challenge. It is just to which extent are we to challenge them? Society needs rules and structure to happen, not to be, to happen. For anything to happen, we need rules and structure. It's just like, do we need that many rules and structure? And some of the rules and some of the structure isn't curated to each specific person, so it's generalized. So you can get in trouble for a lot of things, even if you know you're never going to do those things, so to say. So that way everybody's in check. Also, without these things, there would be anarchy. I'm not up here arguing for no rules and no structure. I like some rules and some structure. I'm arguing for not blindly following those ideas. I feel like a lot of things that have come about are because we have not asked why. But asking why could get you jailed a few months ago and kind of now, but not talking politics, sorry. But even history shows that some laws are wrong. Henry David Thoreau wrote Civil Disobedience, an entire book on my topic. Maybe I should have just read the book to you guys in easy A, but he believed that people should resist. He says, in quote, "If law requires you to be the agent of injustice, break the law. This kind of pushes the idea that legal does not always equal right. He says the agent of injustice, like Robin Hood, the agent of injustice, taking from the rich and giving to the poor, even though it's illegal, but it is morally correct. I'd like to bring in a pop culture note, like A Few Good Men. It's entirely about, yes, I know guys, but A Few Good Men, it's an entire trial set to talk about breaking rules and how you shouldn't, but breaking rules got somebody killed, and people think it's very, at the time it was a very radical way of like, hey, nobody's gonna die if you just blindly follow our rules that we didn't tell you, but they do. People have died. People do die. It's a very severe issue, and I feel like I shouldn't have to narrow it down to our generation to tell you why you should care. You shouldn't care because we're Gen Z or Gen Alpha or whatever's going on. You should care because people are dying for not following the rules that we don't know why they were put in place. That's why you should care. That's the impact statement, guys. MLK even talks about in a letter from Birmingham jail, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. This entails that everyone deals with rules daily, but people who follow rules blind are not your day-to-day average individuals. It is just more common than you think, so everybody does not think it's unorthodox, which is why I said that this is more dystopian than not following them at all. Civil disobedience equals critical thinking. It's a formula, and we don't know the first part, we just know how we get there and the result. You don't know the before though, because we weren't there for the before. So, back to my original point, give people a little grace who blindly follow rules. It's not their fault. They are a product of their environment, as are you. Just because you recently picked up a book on Henry David Thoreau and read Civil Disobedience does not make you woke. It does not make you a radicalist. It makes you eager to think and believe. Thank you.